Alexander Griffin is an award-winning filmmaker who started his filmmaking journey in 2019 at SUNY Oswego in the Cinema and Screen Studies program. Since childhood, he was inspired by technology and the beauty of video, as well as theatrical magic and cinema. In January 2020, he started his own personal multimedia production company called Dreamcorder Productions, under which he filmed and published a collection of short films, from documentaries to space fantasies, as well as filmmaking videos for newcomers to the craft of cinema production. And then on the panel we have Aldea Gerard. Woo! Aldea is a Syracuse-based artist, filmmaker, and creative director for Alec Productions. She is a passionate entrepreneur and part of the local film scene, working to drive economic growth and create a thriving, sustainable film community in Syracuse. Her efforts to bolster the film industry in Syracuse include collaborative works and appreciation of the local film community. She also is the co-creator of Off the Wall and Up Close, an award-winning arts and travel show that showcases the lesser-known cities like Syracuse and the local arts, culture, and businesses in them. The show's pilot episode won Best Web Series in the Seattle Film Festival in 2022. Then we have Matt Sacca, is that right?
Sacca, yep.
Sacca joining us, and he is the head of development at American High. And I was looking at all this stuff, reading this, I'm like, I don't know how you have time to be here, so thank you.
No problem, thank you.
Head of development at American High, a high school comedy production company based in Liverpool, and founded by writer, director, producer Jeremy Gerlich. Matt's responsibilities include tracking every incoming feature and pilot submission and determining which projects are the funniest and most exciting to produce through American High's output deal with Hulu. He also personally screens, interviews, recruits, and mentors every creative and development intern within the company. And Matt recently co-wrote and produced Marshall Man in partnership with Make-A-Wish CNY, which is awesome. And he has written a high-concept comedy feature with Pete and Elizabeth Lee from Chroma Act and Andy Mack and her production company, Prince Hobo, attached as lead and producers, respectively. His previous worked on production and development intern at Good Universe on Good Boys, Blockers, The Grudge, and Always Be My Maybe. TV development intern at Lionsgate, development assistant at American High, and assistant to Jeremy Gerlich on American High's own Plan B, Sex Appeal, and Crush. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Then we have Matt Cushing. A lot of people write their bios in the third person. Mac Cushing isn't one of those. For the past 7 years, I've been writing and directing short form comedy, horror comedy, or just plain weird stuff in both video and comics, and I've been working in film and television for 12 years in one capacity or another, and believe that I was an iron worker. Before that, I was an iron worker.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot that I was that. I'd like to think that dropping out of film school was that diploma. While I usually direct stuff I've written myself, I'd probably be into directing something for you if you let me get weird with it, like I'm getting weird with this right now. How weird, you say? Come look around the website, his website, take in its content, discover its meaning, and then potentially pay me or him to direct a video for you. Thank you for being here. And thanks for keeping it weird.
Yeah, buddy.
Then we have Nick Mormon. Is a regular on stages around CNY and prominent member of the cosplay community, but he is perhaps best known for his web series, WebcamNick, in which he produces mini documentary videos covering area conventions, cosplay, and related creative events, among other things. He'll be joining our film panel to offer his unique experience and perspective.
Appreciate you.
I don't know why, but my inclination was to say Ramona. And finally, Ember Belrad is best known as one of the directors of North Country Comic-Con, which is called Nococon, and has gained some notoriety for unorthodox film, and media projects through Sparklight Studio. As an award-winning photographer and videographer, they are a well-known person around CNY Community Arts Scene, helping theatrical productions and artists get the word out about their new and exciting projects. As a pro-science and humanist advocate, They've been working on making waves in social media as well, and most relevant, they have a feature-length film based in the local area, currently in post-production and expected to debut on Prime later this year. Woo, that's cool. Thank you all. Okay, Alex, that leaves you ready to ask the questions. Everyone, listen carefully.
Yes.
Well, I'll leave this with you.
Wonderful Zoom when that audio doesn't work. So, okay. So again, like Laura said, thank you all for being here on this wonderful Saturday afternoon to give us, your insights for breaking into the creative industry, breaking into the film industry for creatives. All right. So, what has been the biggest challenge for you?
The biggest challenge of, I guess, breaking into the industry as a creative is, I think, finding what door to knock on. Because, creating what you want to create just comes naturally. And finding friends to make something, that's a little bit harder, but still really doable. I find that the hardest thing is to find where to send it, because I've had this problem myself. I get asked this a lot, and it's you can send it to any amount of film festivals, but even then, unless you know the people in the room and who to talk to, it's very hard to even get your film seen once it's accepted. So that is, I think, the gate that is being kept that we should be discussing.
Yeah, I would, I would agree with that. To that point, finding the people that support your mission and what you're doing, and also hold those same values to which you're doing them. And then, it's easy to get friends to help and get people involved in that way, but getting people to actually see what you're doing and be present outside of who you know is probably the biggest challenge I've seen.
Building on that, my first thought is cast and crew. You need people to help you bring your vision to life. And while you can probably rely on friends, getting schedules synced up is really, really hard. And when there's a gap in the skills of the people you have available, if you don't know the person that you need for that role, then you have to find them, and then you're back to the doors to knock on. And so getting the people together, definitely the hardest part.
I suppose I have a slightly different perspective, just because I'm fortunate enough to be in-house at a flagship company here that's thankfully planted their flag. So if I'm writing within that space, I know my audience, my target demo. I have all of my crew who happen to also be my friends. So then the difficult part becomes the balancing act that we're all familiar with of servicing the place you work and then writing for your own back pocket. I found that to be the most difficult, to have the time and bandwidth to make all of that happen. I love to write, I love to create and produce, and try to forge my path in that is very difficult when you have a lot of other responsibilities. But no doubt what everyone else said is extremely challenging. I'm coming from a different fortunate space where it's more just finding the time that I may or may not have. So.
For my YouTube channel, probably getting guesses for interviews, because not everybody wants to talk to someone on a camera at a con. Or they'll be like, let me check my contract, or call my agent. And I'm like, okay, you don't want to talk to my camera for 30 minutes? That's fine. And don't meet your heroes.
Yeah, awesome. I gotta say, as a former student filmmaker myself, I've had to deal with a combination of all of that. So, the next question, this is the next one. So, do you have a specific goal within the TV and film industry?
Yes, and I think after creating content for going on about over 10 years, finding what success means to you is incredibly important, because I think, especially with the rise of YouTube, with the rise of TikTok, with what I call the democratization of film, is you do not have to measure your success by being like, I've landed in a writer's room, I've directed a feature film. You now have the ability to make your art in a way that you want to, and whether or not it has commercial success doesn't necessarily have bearing on whether or not you have artistic success. And so with that, like, you know, in the past 3 years, I've switched a little bit over from trying to write and direct towards just kind of like cruising in Griffin Electric and being crew, because a lot of the best art I make is with friends that are also crew for bigger shows, and being able to make things together with your friends and, you know, show it locally is right the lane I want to be in right now. Does that mean I don't want to try to get bigger eventually? Of course I do, but for right now, I'm a lot more comfortable calling what I'm making right now a win.
Yeah, and so for us, one of our big values within our company is the mentorship and building a place where people can find art and expose art and creatives and building those talent pools. And so what we do within our company, the value we put in it has a lot more to do with building those talent pools and building a community that helps each other and is there for each other, and seeing those people grow within that community and step up.
Yeah, similarly for me, I mean, you know, commercial success would be nice because it provides funding to do other things. But as far as general goals, artistic goals, to go back to the doors from the first answer, I want to knock doors down. I want to get them the hell out of the way so other people can join, can participate, and all of us can make more stuff.
Yeah, I think I'm going to echo the past few comments, where one of my chief responsibilities is to provide training and early access to the industry for a bunch of burgeoning new voices in filmmaking in the college space, so that when they graduate, they have a path, they have a pipeline where they can come onto a full legit set post-grad and know the etiquette, or join our company internally and be able to kind of have their voice be heard. So it's absolutely knocking those doors down and providing access, just a lot of access to the new voices that are wanting to have their voice be heard and their talent recognized. And then kind of on a more selfish level with my writing, I guess I just want to get to the point where, regardless of genre, people are excited to read what I've written. I don't want to be boxed in to comedy because I work at American High and that's what I'm good at writing now. But I love horror, I love thriller, I love compelling drama. I just want to get to a point where it's a room with 4 windows around me, and from each side, people want to see the writing.
I'd love to make a classic movie. That'd be cool. And again, with handing down stuff, find a successor to my YouTube channel, because I can't always be the cosplay correspondent. I need someone else to do it.
Alright, awesome. Yeah, thank you all for your insights on that. Alright, so the next question here is, was there someone who helped you navigate the industry? Maybe someone who you worked with personally, or someone who you looked up to?
For me, there wasn't a singular person, more of an organization. Getting my start in film was by joining IATSE, which is the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees. And I had moved to Nashville from Syracuse. I was trying to start working in film full time, and I got offered a chance to buy a union card, and from there, through the union, I got work, and work led to meeting other people and being part of the film community, and because of that, I'm a real proponent of seeing film as always a community effort. It is never a single person. You always have to rely on other people to there's got to be someone in front of the camera, behind the camera, holding the mic. There's got to be someone getting the food. So getting in and show it with a community that you always have to rely on each other, and you always can rely on each other, not only helps me get to where I am now, it's given me a lot more confidence in myself, because when you have the community backing you, it already gives, you're already halfway there.
Yeah, and so for us, when we first started, we created our company to make a pilot episode for a TV show, and we knew nothing about film. And so Syracuse Film, Eric Vinyl from there kind of gave us a little bit, and then we got a director for a pilot episode, Stephen Long. And so getting started, those two really told us a lot about what we needed, and that helped tremendously.
I didn't really have a person per se, but this is where, as a couple people have mentioned already, the advance of YouTube has been very helpful, because when you don't have somebody local that you can turn to for answers, for information, for learning, the internet is much bigger than it used to be, and so you don't always get the best information, and it's not always presented in the most straightforward way. Like with a physical teacher, you get that one-on-one, they know what information you need and how you learn. With a video, it's less personal, but there's videos out there for everything. So eventually you can at least get some of the basics to try to get going with things.
I was fortunate to have two very distinct mentors and inspirational figures to get me started on my track. As fate would have it, just growing up in a mix of South Jersey and then pretty rural Pennsylvania, one of my cousin's good friend from high school was this creative who went on to become a pretty established indie filmmaker named Jim Mickle, who worked on low-budget horror and thriller films like Stakeland, Cold in July, We Are What We Are, which is an adaptation of a foreign horror film. And I was really inspired by that indie sensibility and the track, because I knew that was most realistically going to be a track that I would have to pursue in the early going, not just getting a studio offer or writing job or anything like that. So, and the fact that somebody who was so busy and was already established took the time to basically be a pen pal. I mean, I never even met Jim personally, but my cousin still had his contact info. He gave me a debrief very early on proper set etiquette and then creative sensibilities and kind of how to merge those two things so that you're servicing what I was talking about earlier. You're servicing yourself and the place you're working, which has helped me balance out what is a very, very, very busy job. And then, of course, once I got to the college stage, Jeremy Garlick, of course, who is my boss, but was also, I was his assistant for a year and so on and so forth. When he approached my intro to screenwriting class at Syracuse, my sophomore year, he gave me more of the studio mindset. So it was a really good melding of if you need and want to pursue the indie track and get something off the ground yourself and do the festival circuit and everything like that, from Jim, who now writes and showruns huge Netflix shows like the DC adaptation of Sweet Tooth on Netflix. He found that pipeline, and then Jeremy was Joel Schumacher's assistant and then wrote The Hangover and The Breakup and all this stuff. So it was really awesome to have the yin and the yang there, so that I kind of knew at least an introduction to how to approach any setting as far as scale, budget, formality. So very, very grateful to both of them.
Other actors in movies, that's where I got my advice. I'm a kid from Syracuse, hood. So you're not going out there all the time, going to auditions or whatever. You're just watching TV as a kid. Don Cheadle in an interview said, someone said, I want to be an actor. He goes, well, what are you doing? Are you learning monologues? Are you doing plays? You can call yourself an actor and not be in anything as long as you know what you're doing as behind this camera or whatever. So like, I know a ton of movies just offhand because that's just how my brain works anyway. And boy, do people hate it, but also they love it and it comes in handy. So like, if I ever go to an audition, I don't have a hard time learning lines or anything, you know. So yeah, I learned that from other actors.
Awesome. All right. So, the next question up here is, this is a good one. What actionable advice do you want to leave people with?
There are more right answers in film than wrong answers. There are 1,000 ways to skin a cat. There are a lot of people who are served really well by film school, and there are a lot of people who say that dropping out is the diploma. And there are ways that both tracks work just fine. Just because it is a road less traveled doesn't mean it is going to end you anywhere. Remember that landing in a writer's room is like winning a lottery. Getting your script bought and directing something is a 1 in 1,000 chance. There are a lot of, if you are dead set on making art, do it any single way you can, because almost every way is the right answer.
Oh man, that was a really good answer. I had one. Now I'm like, what was my answer? Sorry. It's okay. Like, did you say the question again? Maybe I'll get back there.
Yeah. So, what actionable advice do you want to leave people with?
Right. So, oh man, before I even had a production company and decided to call myself an artist, I was working a job that, people work. I met this guy and he had his own company, and I asked him, how do you do this? And all he said to me was, you just start. And it took me a good 8 years to really understand that. But my advice is you just start. You just write down your idea and you build on that, and you continue to build, and then you talk about that idea and you meet people who support that idea. And so you just start somewhere with something.
Yeah, similar thought. Try, fail. Your first few attempts are going to be the very worst that you ever produce, but you'll learn from every single one. You'll get better. You'll find out what works, what doesn't. Failure is the most important tool we have for learning. So go out there and screw up.
Yep.
They're all terrific answers so far. And I wholeheartedly agree with all of them. I would say, from my perspective, as someone who still kind of feels like in many ways they're breaking in, that it sounds so trite, but approaching every project, job opportunity, just general opportunities with the same degree of enthusiasm, passion, and morale boosting does so much. I have done so many jobs in the early going that I was clearly not suited for, wasn't going to last in, and it was the morale boosting and the attitude and the energy that was brought that still managed to lift a bit, even if my performance, I just wasn't suited for that task. And that's ultimately what people are going to remember. Somebody who can, of course, get the job done ideally, but even better, be able to do that and make everyone else feel like they're in it for the right reasons. And that's something that I think will make you stand out as you're looking to break in.
Don't have a plan B. Plan B defaults from plan A. Because if you're like, okay, I'm going to wait tables, and you're not auditioning, or you're not doing what you said you want to do. Don't have a plan B. Focus on plan A. Even if you're going to be living on your mom's couch and stuff like, oh no, it's going to happen, it's going to happen, something going to happen. John Krasinski was in New York City for a year before he booked The Office. it was Tyrion. What was
Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage. Didn't work until he was like in his late 20s. So like, just wait it out. Do something. You might get that first edition, you might not. But Tom Holland didn't get Star Wars. What's it called? Did what's his name? Black kid. John Boyega did. Like, there are jobs for everybody. Trust me.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for your insight on that. And so, it's a good question here. So, do you have anything coming up that you'd like to plug?
Nothing coming up. I just released one of my final comic book issues this year called Luster of the Lesser Gods through Albatross Exploding Funny Bugs. I had a really great run writing with Eric Powell there. Really grateful for that part of my life. But recently, I had a kid and moved back to Syracuse, and just trying to gear up for the next one. But for right now, I've got the comic book.
We just put out a new episode on our YouTube channel. It's called Off the Wall and Up Close, and we go to a popcorn place and we interview an actress about how you do self-tapes. And it was a ton of fun to shoot, and you can tell because we were laughing a lot in the video. And we also have a documentary, a rockumentary, in production right now.
All right. Well, Ghost Camp will be out later this year at some point, but the most immediate thing is the highlights from Nococon. And you can find those on YouTube at youtube.com/ they're doing the @ thing now, but @ NOCOCON.
Obviously, from a company standpoint, it's a pretty fraught time in the industry with the WGA strike, which we 100% support. Again, if I was a writer and head of development and I didn't, there would be a serious problem.
Right.
So, to pivot from the movie making of it all for now, we have been really pushing our digital content at American High Shorts on TikTok and Instagram. We started in December, and we hit 500,000 on TikTok a couple weeks back, and about close to 100K on IG. It's just universal, relatable, comedic, short-form content, little skits about high school life. And on a personal level, we are waiting for the strike to resolve before pursuing any financiers on the script that I wrote for Peyton. And my writing team and I are gearing up for feature number 2, just to kind of write something during this downtime, so to speak. And hopefully that starts in like mid-July. So that's about it.
Yeah, just cosplay music video from Nococon, 2 interviews from Nococon. That's it. Not really doing much. I should be, but I'm not.
Hey, that's great, everyone. Thanks for letting us know what you're planning on doing. Thank goodness this is recorded, so those who aren't here will be able to check y'all out if they want to. We'll also might have it written down someplace, I'm not sure, but yeah, thank y'all for your insights. I'm not able to see the audience. Do we have any questions from the audience?
Great question. Combined between creative and development, and I'm happy to distinguish between the two. And this summer, obviously there's, again, a lot of downtime and school's out, so probably, I would say between 60 and 80. It's a lot. I personally take weekly meetings with all of our creative interns who are really focused on projects that enhance the American High brand beyond just the Hulu deal that we had, so that, we love Hulu and we want to keep working with them forever. In the event that that doesn't happen for whatever reason down the line, there's more like the digital content we've been making and the things that establish us with, locally as well, so that everyone knows that we're around and we're recruiting and we're teaching. We have an academy, a nonprofit academy at American High that is going to do a lot of seminars this summer to really, again, allow people to flourish who don't understand the industry fully yet or are still in school. And the development is normally just fully script reading and writing coverage. Obviously, we're not getting as many submissions as we normally do. So while we still will read for interest and generally let people know if there's a future here after the strike resolves or if it's just not going to happen, kind of having to pivot and find new projects that they can work on beyond scripts since there's not enough supply for the demand of the interns. But yeah, it's a lot, and with the development interns, I communicate with them, via email every single week. If they want to take, meetings with me to get advice or things like this about breaking into the industry, they're happy to do so. But probably 60 to 80 this summer. It's a record, so pretty good.
Well, I touched on this a little bit ago about like the democratization of video. There's ever since YouTube happened, there's YouTube, there's TikTok, there's billions of dollars in short form content, and there's definitely a shift towards that. And I think that kind of dovetails with this ethos of indie filmmaking, where rough around the edges filmmaking has always had kind of this very special place in people's hearts. American Movie, the documentary, was really, really iconic because it was such a, it showed just how shoestring filmmakers were making. And I think in the 90s, just rough around the edges movies really kind of endeared themselves to the public. And I think the big change now is you can make really polished, good looking stuff a lot cheaper these days. So I can go out, if you've got a background in film, you can go out with some friends and make something look really, really professional. And if it doesn't have good writing, if it doesn't have heart in it, you're gonna get lost in the shuffle to a 20-second TikTok that might look like it was shot on an iPhone 7, but the content is there. So I think it's the methods and the accessibility of making films is kind of changing on how you can do it, but the core of it is kind of remaining the same. It's all about the content.
Awesome. Actually, I have a question for everyone about the game.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, it's kind of interesting to think about. I was thinking about it as everyone was talking. So, what is everyone's favorite filmmaking vehicle? And by vehicle, I don't mean a car. By vehicle, I mean a tool that helps you express yourself and create your art. It might be your favorite piece of equipment. It may be your favorite editing software, favorite writing software, favorite social media tool, be able to share your content out there. What's your favorite filmmaking vehicle?
Okay, I like this question, but we'll make it the last one because I know some of you are trying to get to another date. And then I'll wrap it up and we'll think out and we'll move on. But yeah, last question, your favorite media thing?
Honestly, my favorite filmmaking vehicle is sketch comedy shows, live sketch comedy shows. I've produced a lot in the past. I love watching them. I love acting in them. I love writing for them. I think that sketch is a microcosm of film, and it helps you. Anytime you can test your ideas in front of a live audience, it helps you dial in the concept I was just talking about.
This is kind of a hard question for me to answer because my stuff is mostly based in painting. So I'm an artist and I paint, and so I see everything in those colors, painting and things like that. Through the film industry, it's just, for me, creative problem solving. So the best tool I found is the collaboration with our teams, where we sit around in our meetings and we work through ideas and kind of work them out that way, because all the ideas at the table kind of make a better vehicle for make it something.
There's so many possible answers to this. You know, I love the DJI gimbal that I had at the convention because it keeps the camera level and charges it as I go. I love the Adobe software suite because it's all interconnected. But I think the single most important tool is one of these, because not only does it serve as a backup for almost anything you can think of, like today it's being a microphone, but it's also a notepad right in your pocket. And that's the most important thing to me because it all starts with the idea. And with one of these, you can document your idea anywhere you go in a moment and come back to it later when you actually have time to flesh it out and see if there's anything there. You can get past writer's block, I suppose. It just, when that moment hits, you've got the ability to lock it down and keep it for later.
That was my exact answer.
The
Perfect, yeah,
telepathy.
it's great. It really is. It's being right next to each other. So I guess springboarding off of that, for me, after I passed that stage of the initial concept, especially dealing in high concept material, I hate to sound so predictable, it's Final Draft. I mean, especially the latest update that allows you to collaborate in a live doc, like it's a Google Doc. All I have to do is call my co-writers, put them on speaker, and then you can just see all the live tracking, the live updates, and you can get it done, and it feels like you're in a room together. It's truly like, well, at least if you have the chemistry with your writers and the same sensibilities, those walls are being broken down more than ever to actually be able to collaborate. So it's so boring. It's such a boring answer for me, but it's the right one.
It's a good one.
What we're doing right now, the art of the interview, learning how to have a conversation with someone. When I script write and I have my brother read it over, he goes, "Your conversations sound like real conversations. It doesn't sound like it's a movie. Like, you know, just getting information to the audience. It's a real conversation between two people you're watching." So learning that's probably my favorite tool, is learning the art of the interview, because I've had some bad ones.
Alrighty, well, thank you everyone for your time and your insights. That was awesome. Everyone's inputs are pure solid gold, even more so. So thank you all for taking the time for coming out here and letting us pick your brain. It's been an honor to be in the same creative and conversation space.
Thank you, Alex.
I had to remind them that you were hovering low behind us back there. So thanks again for the panel. Let's give them a round of applause. And then let's also thank Alex, who's just home with COVID, and we hope he feels better soon.
Feel better.
Yeah, and super appreciate you, still showing up. And again, thank you all of you for coming. And that's it. Thanks for being here. I'm sure if you have more questions, you can reach out to them later. Thank you.